Greetings, friends in the US, friends in India, UK. It's such a pleasure to meet today. And we are now in the sixth of the 8-week Heartful Living series. And the first question I got today morning was, Doc, we've been sitting with you for 6 weeks. What are the actual biomarker results? What happens if we do heartful living? Does my blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes get better? And the answer is it gets so much better that many patients don't even need their medicines after being with us for 3 months, 6 months. Sometimes it's 2 years, but within a very reasonable period of time, things that typically take a lifetime of just managing, which means continuing medicines and keeping things under control. People are intuitively learning how to come away from medicines and lead a healthy life. If you ask hemoglobin A1C, we see it coming down from 9 or 10 all the way to the 5 and 6 range. The cholesterol, 50%, 60% reduction. Blood pressure from 220, we've seen reduction all the way down to 110. You may ask, is it safe? When it happens over weeks, it is perfectly safe. And when it happens through smiling, it's definitely fine. But if you use pills and bring it down within a day from 210 to 110, then it can be a problem in itself. So dropping the pressure is one thing, but doing it the right way is so much more important. Yes, all the chronic medical diseases like stroke, heart attack, and kidney disease, these are all end organ diseases that happen little later in life, in the 60s, 70s, hopefully. But the earlier problems like diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, they happen, unfortunately, even in the 20s and 30s. So that is, we want to help everybody. And I'm glad you asked that question, Peggy. So any other quick comments before we go ahead and get started? I'm going to request everyone to mute yourself. You're able to see my slides?
Yes.
Excellent. So we'll go ahead and get started today and see how far we can get through in this discussion about losing yourself. This is the fun part of heartful living. So we already touched about flow, yoga, Uvagai, Zen, and finding meaning in life. So these things we want to touch today. March 13th, and this is misleading because this weekend we changed time zones. So it's 9 o'clock Central Time in Columbia, Missouri, whereas in India it's only 7:30 p.m. So many people might not have joined us yet. So we'll make the videos available. So from next week onwards, again, I just hope people in India and other parts of the world remember that we are meeting at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. So when we talk about modern humans, actually there are some disadvantages compared to our ancestors. They actually relaxed more often than we do. And they felt stress only if a tiger was chasing them or a snake was about to bite them. Whereas when we are connected to our cell phones all day long, we are more at its beck and call all the time with the texts and messages, and the way our modern life has just changed so much. In the past, the threats were real predators, whereas currently it is just psychological things and stresses that we add on in this modern way of interconnected living. The cortisol, adrenaline, and these counter-regulatory hormones, which increase the glucose levels and insulin levels, these hormones were needed and are still needed for the entire animal kingdom to overcome natural risks, predators. Whereas for modern human beings, we are not at risk of a tiger or lion chasing us. So what are we at risk of? All these mental stresses contributing to increased cortisol and adrenal levels. Only thing, these levels stay up all the time in modern world. So that is the real challenge that we face that our ancestors did not. So all the diseases that we just discussed, like diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, or heart attack, stroke, all these chronic diseases, kidney failure, these things are all dramatically increased with aging. So if we can work on aging itself, there are a lot of people looking at the specific genes that contribute to aging, and scientists, some of them at least, really believe that if we are able to stop aging, reverse those specific genes, then we can live forever. The challenge with that way of thinking is already we've identified 500 genes, and in the next 5 years, it might exceed 1,000 genes that are related to aging. So it's going to be hard to find that many ways to fix things.
Huh? Practice.
I'm requesting everyone to mute yourself, and yeah, coming back.
Your phone on mute. Yeah.
Okay, so this shows what are the several pills are being tried, but we don't know how much of them really work towards reducing our biological aging. But lifestyle, we know if we minimize alcohol, exercise adequately, cut back on unhealthy snacking and sugary foods, and eat more healthy whole foods, we can delay the progression of biological aging. And if you see this busy slide, bottom line is the same thing that I just discussed. The green things are sleeping adequately, exercising, and minimizing alcohol. And if you have genes of parents and grandparents living longer, healthy lives, then good chance you're going to live healthy too. So all the chronic inflammatory conditions, arthritis and connective tissue issues and kidney disease, all these things, including weight, excess weight in the body, and diabetes, they accelerate aging. Okay? So now shifting gears towards meaning and happiness. I came across this recently in a TED Talk. Happiness, fulfillment comes from sense of belonging, a purpose, transcending our own personal selfish or self-centered goals and looking beyond to see how we can add meaning to the community and larger society. And then even if there are misgivings about our past, we can actually, in our own hearts, rewrite our history. So we can reframe our life to our own choice. So these are the ways that they suggested. This slide I might have shown the current state of health and the pills and everything that we take as optimizing health. But then if we work on lifestyle, we have 100 times better chance of ensuring good health. And then if we work at the motivation and psychology level, it's 1,000-fold deeper transformation. And then if we connect at the purpose and meaning in life, then it becomes so much more aligned. So is there someone who has, say, a chronic condition like a heart attack or a heart failure? Every week we've met so many people in the last 6 weeks who shared with us their lives and said, yes, we are able to work on our chronic diseases, but they are also working on their diet at the same time, which is helping their chronic disease management so much. And they're also working on finding flow. We haven't played Marilyn's video. We have to do that. She came to us for the first week and inaugurated our Heartful Living course this February. And that was February 1st, Monday. But on Valentine's Day, she came to our cardiology clinic visit, and she actually danced for our entire cardiology group. So this is what Heartful Living does to people, makes them happier. And this is how it works. This we published a couple of years ago. How do we target higher consciousness towards transforming our health, our body, our mind, and basically allowing magic to happen in our lives. So we start with self-inquiry. Self-inquiry, I remind you, is just asking the question, who am I? What is life about? And we do that through gratitude and smiling and finding meaning in life, which allows us to build intuitive resilience, confidence, and trust in the future, optimism. And then with this energy, people find it natural to express that energy in walking or dancing or anything that they love to do. That becomes, as a side product or a side effect, we see heart health improving so much. Weight loss to whatever amount of weight we want to accomplish, and building mental resilience and confidence. All these things end up becoming, I would say, welcome byproducts of self-inquiry. So this we published a couple of years ago. And now we have thousands and thousands of people over the last 10 years living and experiencing and internalizing this for all lifelong. Djokovic is the world's #1 tennis player. I don't think Federer, who's the opponent here in Wimbledon finals, is ever going to catch up with him, because Federer has now retired. I am a big fan of Federer. But what you're seeing in this picture is what the challenge when Djokovic is playing is. He is actually hitting a tennis ball vertically instead of, I should say horizontally, instead of standing up and playing tennis, which is how the game evolved over the last 200 years. He is now actually nearly fallen down on the ground and he's still hitting the ball. He's watching the ball right now. So that, I don't think anybody else in the world does it like him. He is considered the world's most fit athlete ever, not currently. In the history of all sport, he may be the most fit person. And this is what he is saying. Digesting food was taking too much of my energy. That energy I needed to recover after this type of tennis match. So he is talking about eating food and saying that's taking too much energy for me to digest my own food. And this is the 5-minute TV interview that you can Google, say Djokovic diet, and you will be able to find it. So this is Djokovic. This we did last week. When we score more in our scoring of exercise and physical activity, the more and more we score, that means we have a chance of enjoying exercise rather than doing it as a chore. And some lucky people who engage in flow during exercise, if they score 19, 20, that means exercise becomes so part of them that they look forward to it all through the day. So that is the highlight of their life itself. Do we know of some people like that? We know several thousand people who did this and are enjoying exercise like that. So these are the 5 things. I performed beyond my expectations. The whole exercise was effortless. Exercise is fun for me. And even the sense of self, the sense of I was lost. So today's discussion is how to lose yourself. So it's through working hard. And time itself stopped, felt like a blur or just a moment. And all these things, when you score more and more, 1 means I totally disagree, 3 means maybe, 4 means I agree, 5 means I strongly agree. Now I want you to say hello to someone who did this yesterday and scored 23 out of 25. This someone is not a heart patient. This someone is, let me come off the slides. Are you here with us? Trisha?
Hi.
Here you are. You should be able to share your screen and tell us who you are.
Sure. Just one moment. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Chokalingam, for inviting me to speak today. My name is Trisha Sundaram, and I just wanted to speak with you guys a little bit about my story and my journey. So At the age of 6 was the first time that I picked up a tennis.
No issue. No.
I'm going to mute everyone.
I can't even.
So Trisha, can you unmute yourself again?
Sure. So at the age of 6 was the first time that I picked up a tennis racket. And I don't think anyone in my family anticipated the world that we were stepping into from that moment. So from there, during my entire junior career, I competed at the national and international level. My highest ranking in the US in tennis was 60 in the country at the end of my junior career. And I came from a family of tennis players. My mom was a great player. My brother is an excellent player as well. He was a top national player. And playing tennis inspired me to be healthy because being healthy allowed me to compete at a higher level. But today I now continue to play the sport recreationally, and I continue to enjoy playing. So I wanted to share a little bit about my family history. We're extremely high risk in my family for heart disease, especially from my father's side. And my father, he passed away from heart attack and stroke when I was 16 years old. He was in his early 50s. He was diagnosed with diabetes in his mid-30s. And on my mom's side, my great-grandfather had died of heart attack, but we have no other family history of CAD on her side. Let me see if I can, perfect. So here is a graph of my height and weight since 2014. Of my age and weight since 2014. In 2020, when I was 21 years old, I was at my heaviest weight. I was at 130 pounds, and throughout my life, I had never had such a high weight. This was during the beginning of the COVID pandemic. And during that time, my mental health was not so great. I had experienced low self-confidence, higher levels of stress, anxiety, and sadness. So given my family history, I became aware that, it's important to take care of my health. During that time, I started with my mother, our high life journey, and we decided to try to lose weight and learned about how High Life's scientific lifestyle methods could help reverse, chronic diseases such as heart disease and just help us live healthier lives. And so I began this journey with her, which I was very fortunate to have. And during that time, I lost about 30 pounds. My mom lost over 50 pounds. Not only did we lose it, but we were able to sustain losing this weight. And prior to trying High Life, I tried all these different diets, exercise routines, but I found it difficult to stick with them. And I wasn't able to lose the weight. So I wanted to discuss, before I get to that, I lost about 19.23% of my body weight, and my highest BMI was 23.8. My lowest BMI was 18.3. So I wanted to touch on a couple of things that High Life taught me and why it was different than what I tried before joining High Life. So it really changed my relationship with food. I learned that it is healthy to be a little hungry throughout the week and to be more mindful and temperate of what I was eating. I began eating according to what was ideal for my internal cues. And in this process, I found that was my ideal diet according to my internal cues rather than external cues. So I think once I took control of my mind, losing weight became much easier for me. And I found that I was happier actually eating less food. And that happiness, I suspect, is why my weight has not regained during this time. I also think that this came a bit intuitive to me. This is my father right here. He was a yoga and meditation teacher. And so this intuitiveness, this self-inquiry, I think he taught it to me at a very young age as well, and which aligns very well with High Life and what they have helped me rediscover during this time. I also wanted to share my prior and current food print. So before starting High Life, on the right here, this was my food print, 172 kg of carbon. And then on the left is I just completed this today, and this is my current footprint. So I am 60.47% less carbon emissions, 75.13% less nitrogen waste, and 32.30 less percent water consumption. So my footprint is down ever since I have started our High Life journey, which is very exciting. So next I wanted to talk about kind of where I'm at today. So right here is my gratitude journal. I fill that out every single morning. It's the first thing that I reach for right when I get up. And I found that I'm able to now connect better with myself. I practice gratitude and meditation daily. I also play tennis and exercise daily. I'm actually going to play tennis tonight at 7 p.m. With one of my good friends. And I've noticed that today, in comparison to really any point in my life, I enjoy playing tennis more. As Dr. Chokalingam was speaking about earlier, the state of flow. I've noticed that I'm able to get into this flow state much more consistently. Once my physical limit is reached during one of my practice sessions, I feel that my inner nature takes over, and it's difficult to describe, but it feels like I can play for hours. The time just flies by, and I fall into kind of this rhythm. It's very automatic, like breathing. And also, interestingly, I'm able to lose more weight while I'm playing tennis than any other exercise that I do. And that may have something to do with the peace and joy that I feel while I am playing. So this state of flow that I fall into, it's much more common today than even when I was competing competitively at younger ages. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I also wanted to share that I feel more energetic and fitter today than I ever have before. And that is after cutting my food intake by 50%. Another thing that brings me a lot of joy and peace and confidence is that I don't believe that my weight will come back. And I think that's because all of these efforts have now become a part of my intuitive nature. I am comfortable being more hungry. And now that I've achieved my weight, it's much easier to sustain. And I now use, my experience with High Life to inspire and to share with my friends and my family. And I've seen that it has impacted and changed their lives as well. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you, Dr. Chokalingam.
Can we give her a big hand? Thanks so much, Trisha, for joining us today. Anyone has a quick question or two for Trisha? She covered a lot of important things, that this is not only for people dealing with heart disease or other problems. It's also for healthy people who are competing at the international level. Even then, weight can be an issue. Even then, our mind becomes so important in improving our health. And the way we align certain things, our chronic health issues, our diet, exercise, and then the positive psychology flow aspects. Trisha is a beautiful example of regaining optimal tennis performance as well as health, and I don't see any reason why she will have any health issues as she moves forward. The genes she's going to carry all life long, the genes that have higher risk of heart disease, because her dad was only 50 when we lost him. He's one of my best friends. But for her, to 100 years, I don't think this is going to be an issue, because she has made that course correction very young, before she reached 20. So that is what people with heart issues, please connect with your family. Tell them, yes, I have issues, so your risk is a little higher. So please get the right evaluations done and make sure that you are on the safer path so that these problems optimally can be reduced and preferably even avoided. I cannot thank you enough, Trisha, but if there's anyone who wants to ask her questions, she's happy to answer a couple before we go on with my slides. You'll have to unmute yourself, Marilyn.
Well, I just wanted to tell Trisha that I lost a parent not as young as she did, but I was 24. And it's such a beautiful thing that she's able to keep this journal, love and laughing. She's beautiful inside and out. And I just wanted to give her a wonderful tribute. And thank you for coming. I'm so glad you get in flow.
He's taking Heartful Living to Toronto. Do you want to tell us a minute also about that, Trisha?
Yes, I'm excited to go with the Highlight team and to share about my experiences in Toronto. They're having a conference there.
So it's a World Congress on Non-Communicable Disease. So globally, how to manage increasing chronic diseases. That's what the conference is about. And the chair of the conference is Professor Arun Chokalingam. He is going to talk to us next week and share a little bit more information. So nice that you're joining us, Trisha. And when young people like you come on board, it's going to inspire the next generation, which is so important. Thank you. Thanks for everything you do for us. Professor Pandian. You've raised your hand, sir. Do you want to talk? Professor Pandian? You'll have to unmute yourself. The tennis players are keeping quiet. Swami Anna and Chris. You don't want to talk to Trisha? See, I gave away the secret of how I'm getting better at tennis because I hang out with international players.
Good, great. No, congratulations on the journey, and it's been great to see the progression, and I'm going to take that to heart with Djokovic as well too. Seeing all this great tennis today, it's motivating.
Djokovic, by becoming plant-based, has become a big ambassador of how extreme endurance also can be fueled optimally through plant foods. Professor Pandian, you have raised your hand, but if you're not going to talk, we'll just go on with my slides. So now we know how Trisha is scoring so high. And anything more than 18 is good. She's scoring 23 already, most times that she's on the tennis court. So now we come back to an amazing situation where poorly westernized situations like a remote island in Japan and Italy, blue zones, people are actually living longer without the latest advances and 911 and helicopters, they are still managing to not only live longer, but stay healthier also. So how are they doing this? In Costa Rica, Italy, and Japan, different parts of the world, one of the important reasons may be in the US compared to 1995, the number of real friends has become 50% lesser. Whereas in Okinawa, Japan, it continues to be a huge number. 6 is a very big number for real friends. We may have 6,000 Facebook, Twitter friends, but this is real friends who you grew up with. You shared your challenges and anxieties and marriage and suffering and old age, everything they share together. So that many real friends people have. That's such an important aspect of community. We have to remember that aging is not a linear process. Children age slower, or as we grow older, we age 100 times faster. So if we can optimize this process, we will be in much, much better shape towards longer health span. How do people live to 100 years in the blue zones? So some of the reasons may be because they live in more rural settings, larger family units, there is no retirement. Elders, even as they continue to grow older, they play increasingly important role in their family and community. They never exercise. They don't know what exercise is, but their life is so physical that they are getting the exercise by moving naturally. They follow a simple diet, which is more fiber rich and unprocessed foods that might all together contribute to their longevity. This is another slide showing the same thing. So what about purpose in life? Another quick thing I wanted to touch upon. Does it by itself increase risk for mortality if we don't have a purpose in life by 5, 10, 20, 50%? The answer is a surprising 50%, because ikigai is a Japanese term that means the reason for one to wake up in the morning. If that reason is not there, there is no purpose in life, their mortality was 50% higher compared to those who had a sense of purpose first thing in the morning. So this is so central to our life itself. This is a detailed description of how this ikigai works. But in summary, we should love what we are doing. The world should need what we are doing. We should get paid for it, and we should be really good at it. So these are the 4 cornerstones of reaching ikigai. This is my mother's dad, my maternal granddad. In 1940, when he was a young man, our native language from southern India is Tamil. People born in the Tamil tradition, culture, or part of the world felt somewhat ashamed. In 1940, we were still slavery, the British rule, that is one thing. But that was only for a few hundred years. But for several thousand years, we had been under the opinion that we are an inferior race as a race itself. So by birth, we are not happy or proud. And my granddad had gone to jail several times. Why? Because he wanted us to feel equal to every other human being born in this world. Equality was his main thing. In 2019, Tamil is not a disgrace. It is one of the only 10 languages in the world that are considered classical. So it has so much heritage and pride now, thanks to the work he has done all his life. And people who are now born in Tamil Nadu don't feel inferior to anybody in the world. We feel we are just as good as anybody else. He has been the general secretary of a huge political movement for 40 years of his life. This is him at his young age, and his ikigai. He doesn't know the word ikigai, but his life's mission was we should celebrate our heritage. And he tells everyone, find your passion at a young age. That is going to make your life more directed and actually effortless. So what he is talking about is flow. Like Trisha talked about flow during a tennis match, He's encouraging us to enter into flow for life itself. So this is him, my granddad, my mom, and me a few years ago. So that is the thing. When we connect with our purpose, our deeper calling in life, which is more important than any material success, we have a chance to find a deeper intensity that can bring you alive in the moment. Any scientific knowledge which we accumulate over generations is the reason for our material success. But self-inquiry, Trisha beautifully illustrated this with her dad. Non-transferable. Everyone begins at zero. So tomorrow morning, if Trisha wants to practice self-inquiry, she has to again start with zero. Everything she did until today, including today's discussions, is not going to make her any more happy tomorrow. So that is self-inquiry. And that is the way towards real happiness and fulfillment. So this scientific knowledge leads to learning and habits, which are great. That is how we succeed in the material world. But when we find real fulfillment, creativity, and self-inquiry, then we have found the intuitive resilience to deal with everything that life can bring. Scientifically, we call this the dose: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if Trisha is playing tennis, she's getting these neurotransmitters supporting her. So when these are more in circulation, she has a deeper chance of entering into flow and celebrating life itself on the tennis court. And Marilyn, who's 80, she'll correct me and say she's 81 now. She is dancing in a cardiology clinic. So that is again an expression of the same flow. And these are the reasons. I've not been checking this for anybody, including myself, because these are done in the research labs and they're very expensive. If I went to my doctor and said, I want to check my levels of these things, it's just not done routinely. But we know the results of this in the people we encounter in heartful living. So now you're seeing a lot of stairs. So this is the journey. Trisha, when she's working hard, she commented that the flow happens when her physical limit is reached. That means for other people, it's like running for 5 miles, full burst. That's when we feel that we have stopped. Like that on the tennis court, she has gone to her limit and then she enters into flow. So when we are climbing a long path, our heart is pounding, we are sweating. We wish there is not that many more steps, but the steps are not going to stop. We have to keep ascending. So that is when we can enter into flow. Through the effort, through engaging the body, and through dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin. All this we don't have to logically be asking. The body does this over 1 million years of being trained. It knows how to do all those things. So this is the path towards flow. Okay, hard work that involves the body. But then what is at the end of it? If we reach the target at the right time, this could be a source of bliss. What is bliss? We are on top of the world, but we need special techniques, they say. Several years of meditation training and being in the Himalayan caves or being in a moment like this. When this is me, when I took this picture, I had hiked for 2 hours to get up to this point right for sunrise. So it was so amazing. So you can get a sense of the US Virgin Islands and that sunrise. The same sunrise, if I was flying and landing in this airport that you see here, is not going to be this beautiful. Why? Because in this sunrise, my physical limit is captured. I have pushed my body to its utmost limit to get to this point just at the time of sunrise. So the reward is 10 times magnified. It just doesn't happen that way if you're on an aeroplane. So flow is amazing. Bliss is a blessing, just like flow is. But these are all specialized efforts, whereas Vagai is a part of everyday life that all of us can routinely engage in, whether we understand these high philosophical or psychological constructs of bliss and enlightenment and flow. Uvagai is there for everyone. Just by standing by the beach, okay, if you say there's no beach here, standing by a river and enjoying routine daily things, there is no underlying reason that is needed. And Uvagai is extreme happiness that is beyond logic and beyond all reason. When I last presented this, someone asked, does it work in America? You might be talking in philosophy from Eastern traditions. Yes, this works right here in the US because this is a philosophy for everybody to live day-to-day life. That's all it is. So flow is somewhat rare for skilled people like Trisha, who's trained for 10 years. It's easy to enter into that on a tennis court. Bliss and Samadhi is more discussed in philosophical terms in Buddhist monasteries, whereas Uvagai is for everybody. And we recently published this, saying we need to optimally use the body in this. And duration of flow can be for minutes, bliss is for minutes, whereas this can be a permanent inner transformation. And this can be there every day if we choose it to allow. And then the healing power is just a potential for flow and for bliss. Already on flow, I recently saw a paper that said if someone is able to enter flow once or twice a year, their depression doesn't come back. They don't need antidepressants. I just saw that paper. I was amazed that psychiatrists and psychologists are now catching along to a concept that was described in 1975. And we used it in cardiac rehab and we created this BFIT scale. And we still need to validate it in larger populations. But the healing power of Uvagai is what you're seeing in Marilyn Lake and Liz Viken and so many of our friends. Every day you're seeing that. Okay. So this is what we already discussed, how to enter into flow. And when flow is the beginning, that is not the end. We can move towards higher consciousness on a daily effortless journey when we connect with being a little hungry and a little more grateful every day. And this helps us overcome chronic mental health conditions as well as physical chronic diseases like all the things we discussed, diabetes, hypertension, and heart attack. வேண்டிய வேண்டியாங் கைவதால் செய்தவம் ஈண்ட முயலப்படும். What this means is to get whatever, anytime we want it, it is worthy to learn self-inquiry. சுட சுட சுடச் சுடரும் பொன் போல் ஒளிவிடும் துன்பம் சுடச் சுட நோம்பிற் பவர்க்கு. What this means, as fire increases the glitter of gold, when we are faced with challenges that elevates consciousness, if we are already in the path of self-inquiry. Otherwise, these challenges feel like we are being punished for no reason. But when our mind is in the right direction, life itself becomes tuned into experiencing a higher consciousness. An example of that is this friend of ours who is 70 years of age, who has a lot of heart problems, so many heart problems, fast heartbeat, stiff heart. She had several surgeries on the heart, kidney failure, anemia, excess weight. She was in our own hospital 15 times within 1 year. And then when she learned heartful living, she could go for the next 2 years. Now we are already in March of 2023. So since 2021 March, 2 years, she's not yet been back in the hospital even once. So that is what we recently published, saying this is so simple yet transformative and powerful in the hospitalized settings. This is not when she's at home and she's relaxed doing yoga. She's in the hospital learning heartful living. So she's learning to be in the same state of flow that Trisha is experiencing on the tennis court, but she's in the hospital struggling to catch her breath when she's learning this. So that's the depth of our simple intuitive methods. This is another friend of ours who lost 36% of her weight. Trisha lost about 20%, I think, but she's an athlete. 20% is already put her at a BMI of 18, whereas from 104 coming down to 60 kilos within 6 months was amazing. This made her feel like a 25-year-old. She's already in her 60s, 70s. So this happened in 6 months, but then life continues to happen. In 2021, she came home to find her son, who was totally healthy without any mental or physical illness, had committed suicide. So she had to call 911, try to do whatever, but they could not revive her. So that is the challenge she faced. And the last visit with me in my office is what we are tracking here as her weight. Her weight is still great compared to where she started. And if I asked her how happy she is with her life overall and how fulfilled she is still in self-inquiry. That's why despite losing her dear son, despite being through so many more challenges, her heart and mind are still with us. She is doing amazingly well. This is a patient who had blockages in the heart blood supply, which could not be opened. We tried to do a balloon and stents, and we actually ended up not succeeding in that. She continued to have chest pain, but in our program, she continues to lose weight and the pain resolved, not after she lost all the weight. As soon as she started the journey, within a month or two, the chest pains resolved. And she's only continuing to do better every time I see her. And this again, we published recently. This is another amazing friend of ours. Another 2 minutes I will take. At 69, I'm not even going to read all the problems she has. I can tell you that her brain was still intact. Her mind was very clear, so she could attend our Heartful Living sessions in the VA hospital. She came from the community in a wheelchair and she attended it for 8 weeks. And after that, her life was transformed. She felt so happy. And to the point when she's having compression fractures. In the beginning of the COVID pandemic, I had to do a telephone visit because she could not come to my office. She's bedbound for a month. And when I asked her, are you still, after 2 years of being in High Life, a Heartful Living program, are you still feeling that optimism? I feel this is the answer she gave. What do you feel grateful about?
That I wake up every morning.
Excellent. You started out saying that you're an optimistic person.
I've always been optimistic and always figured I had at least the glass half full.
Now, how do you look at your life?
That my glass is always full and overflowing.
This is someone who is in severe pain, can't move in her bed. She's saying she's so overflowing with joy. If at that point in life, someone with all these diagnoses can say that, what is keeping us from feeling that level of happiness? What do you feel? So this we already discussed, but some people texted me and messaged me saying they didn't understand how it's possible. But the truth is, this gentleman for 50 days had only water. And that's why we published this story, because we learned in cardiology, in nephrology, in managing so many things, endocrinology. We've learned so much from his 50-day experiment, which he took on himself for his own beliefs. But he used it to heal his heart. This is our friend. And for this question of half full, half empty, I'm a pessimist, optimist, for him, at this 49th day of drinking only water and needing to be in the hospital to get just some IV fluids, where he refused to get any glucose through the IV fluids. So day 49, for him, the cup is so full and overflowing. So that is the magic of our inner intuitive nature. So continue this self-inquiry until your heart feels this experience of life is so full, overflowing with joy. I wish you all success in your life. Good luck, my friends. You can go ahead and open it up for questions, discussions. I hope you were able to connect with all these concepts. Thanks so much, Trisha, once again for hanging out with us. Marilyn, you are going to tell us about what you did this weekend.
Oh, I walked a half a mile, quarter of a mile up a hill, quarter of a mile downhill, and I didn't think I could do it. And I was outside, and it was on just a city sidewalk, and it felt so good to be able to want to go somewhere and think, oh, I can't do it, and then to do it. And thank you,
Marilyn,
doctor.
I'm so glad you did it. Couple of questions for you. I've seen you now in first we met through Osher, Siddha Higher Consciousness course, and then you came to see me because it worked for you. Now, I've met you so many times. Have I asked you to get this many steps or walk this much until today?
No, you said that I didn't need to I didn't need to exercise to fix my heart, that losing the weight was what was important with my condition. And I know I need to exercise for strength, and but you don't force me at all.
What about Trisha's presentation? Did you feel that you were in a little bit of flow to get to that half a mile up the hill yesterday?
Oh, I loved her presentation. She's so beautiful inside and out. And I know that she, having lost a parent so young, I'm sure that she is under talking about issues that she may have had. But for her to be able to play tennis and enjoy it and feel that flow now, and to be able to share it, I just was so impressed.
Did you get into a little bit of flow when you did that walk yesterday, Marilyn?
I don't think so, not quite, but I was out on the deck with my dog the other day, and I just was walking around the deck and singing, and I certainly, singing to myself, I certainly felt flow. And you were talking about flow and bliss, and sometimes in the evening, my dog will get into my lap and I don't know he's coming. I'm not exercising, and I'm just sitting there enjoying his company. And I think that is a flow, because I'm not lonely at 81, lost a lot of friends. We get older, we lose people, but I'm enjoying my 80s thanks to you.
So when was it last that you were able to walk like this, the same up and down the hill, like half a mile you walked yesterday? How many years ago were you comfortably able to do that?
Let's see, I'm 81 now. When I was 60, I could walk a mile, but not comfortably. It hurt, and I had to force myself. But so 21 years ago, I could walk. A year and a half ago, I couldn't walk 10 feet without heavy breathing. And that's the other thing. I didn't have shortness of breath that day.
And because you're entering into flow while you're at your deck and playing with your puppy, that is why I think your mental issues with the depression that you had seasonally, that's cleared up. Marilyn had depression for 60 years, starting at the age of 20. She doesn't have that anymore. So thanks so much.
Well, thank you.
We'll open it up for a quick couple of questions. Professor Pandian, he had his hands raised earlier. Tama?
I have a question, Dr. Chockalingam.
Yes.
Is ecstasy the same as Uvagai?
Yes. Different words we can use. Uvagai is extreme happiness. Yes. Without any specific reason. And it's a deliberate process. You get there and you recognize you've done this, and then you internalize it. So that with alcohol, you cannot have that. And with recreational drugs, you cannot have that. That's the thing. But if you are able to know how you got there, then that's the magic. then you will stay there. Does it make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
It's a type of ecstasy.
Okay, thanks.
Dr. Chakalingam, I'd like to say something. I want to tell all my Indian friends, congratulations on your 2 Oscars last night. You may not know that 2 Oscars went to Indian people, and it was just beautiful.
So we are already close to the hour, so we would love to have 5, 6 quick question answers, and then we can wind up for the day. You'll have to unmute yourself. Yes.
Sir, I would like to maybe have some discussion about loss. As I age, I find myself losing, let's see, over 25% of my high school class is gone. They've passed. Most of the parents in that generation, aunts, uncles, are gone. And some of my best friends who I, learned or made relationships through healthcare, I've lost them too. So you might talk about loss and how this helps. I've already seen some of the ways that it does, but how you deal with loss and keep focused during periods of loss. That might be helpful for some of us, because some of us are in our 70s.
Yeah, see, this is what we discussed today, saying that finding that meaning is so important. And my granddad said you have to find it by the time you turn 20. Then the rest of life becomes just an act of flow. That's what he described. So I did not find it at 20. I was still a medical student. I probably found it closer to 30 when I became a cardiologist. Becoming a cardiologist, I really loved it, so I was able to engage. So that it's a blessing, because after that, for me, the last 20 years have gone by in a blur. I don't even know where 20 years went. But then you are asking about a real issue where in United Kingdom, there is a ministry for loneliness, I think, because loneliness and isolation and feeling just you're in your own island is becoming so big a challenge throughout the world. It's happening first in the Western world, but it's catching on in Eastern systems also. How do we overcome this? We cannot go to the blue zones where you're still the head of your family, and at 95 people are waiting to hear your final verdict on how to move through their life. Here, very quickly, they're waiting for us to move on to a retirement home or something like that. But this is the world we live in, which is more modern. But the meaning, I truly believe, comes from our heart. And see, Marilyn just was talking about connecting with her puppy and feeling the flow. That flow is not just with the puppy. After that, tomorrow, it's going to manifest in dancing in a cardiology clinic. That dance she did in February is really so beautiful in so many ways. In a cardiology clinic, have you heard of anybody dancing? I was wondering who's going to come and complain. So we recorded that, and see, that is going to inspire so many doctors and nurses to do better. Like that, throughout life. A couple of weeks ago, you met a 96-year-old friend of mine who goes to swim in the ocean by Greece. That's where her nieces and nephews and grandchildren are. So she does that every year. In the summer, she's swimming in the Mediterranean. And it's not just the swim. See, Djokovic plays tennis. Him winning so many Wimbledons is not making any difference to anybody. It's only in his home. But the simple words when he utters, what he eats, every shot that he places on video. But when he says certain things that can change the health of so many people wanting to live longer and live healthier. So when we connect these things together, we have to find where we are happy, and where that happiness a lot of times is from adding value to people around us. So we can find at every point, as long as we are alive, somewhere where we add value. When we do that, the magic starts. I want everybody to explore where they can do that, despite physical limitations, handicaps. So you met one of my friends who had compression fractures, and she's saying she's overflowing with joy. The cup is not half full anymore. So how is that possible? That is out of that inner nature. And all lifelong, we can have that happiness. That happiness will direct us towards being more and more connected and useful to our community, our family, and the society at large. Did it make sense, Peggy? I'm not giving you solutions. I'm saying we can find solutions. But if you have specific solutions, we can volunteer at the food bank. We can do some urban agriculture. We can volunteer at the church or some other community center that we love to be at. For veterans, where we've started Heartful Living in 2015, putting on a red jacket and sitting in the VA reception and guiding patients is a way of connecting with society, with their own comrades. So that makes them feel so fulfilled that they are helping other veterans. Does it make sense?
Sure, thank you.
So many ways that we can find and try to connect with our inner nature and with the real world. Thanks for that amazing question, Peggy. Yes, Dennis.
Doctor, I lost my mom in February of 21 and my daughter in August of 21. And Dr. Simone Nader sort of took me under her wing. And she kept saying to me, choose joy. And the Bible teaches us in all things be thankful. And I said, Lord, how can I be thankful losing something as precious as my child? And then I thought about it, and it just changed things. I was so grateful I had her for 46 years. And for that, and I talk about her because it's my way of keeping her memory, and I share her, but I am so thankful and grateful I had her. And so when I come across death now, and I look back over my life of the people I've lost, I'm thankful they were in my life. And you remember the things you're thankful for them. And it's helped me a lot.
Amazing, Dennis. We are so glad you shared that with us. How is your journey coming along? Since you mentioned last week you were cutting back on your...
Oh, I'm still doing the 24-hour. I go 22 to 26 hours, somewhere in there. And but this weekend, I discovered M&Ms with peanut butter. So I kind of fell off the wagon. Fell off the wagon.
That is also part of the journey. Everything is part of our journey. We are not against M&Ms. They are meant to celebrate life. But we have to do it in moderation.
Yes. And but the one thing I am very curious about, because I can get into, twice I've gotten into moderate ketosis, but I cannot seem to go past that. It seemed to be small amounts. Can you give me some guidance there?
We said we should talk again soon. I have to connect with you. If you tell me your phone number, I'll call you after this.
Sure.
What's your phone number?
904.
Give me
904.
Go ahead.
553.
553.
07. 0722.
I don't know if I got it. 904 553
0722.
Okay, I'll call you. We'll chat some more. Did you enter into a little bit of, what should I say, flow when you were more hungry towards hour of 18, 20, 22 when you're not eating, Dennis?
It's real funny. I get hungry, but then I drink ice cold water and it just knocks me into, where I'm not hungry again. And the part that's I've noticed, I've gone from not having any energy whatsoever to developing some motivation to get up and move and do the things that I haven't done, because I've had COVID twice this year, and just I'm getting over the bronchitis that it caused back in November. So I'm coming out of that. But literally, I can contribute my energy level to the fasting. I really do, because I'm not an energetic human being.
All that is going to change, Dennis, because today you met an international tennis player, Trisha. So you don't have to learn tennis, but we can all be in that same flow that she is in, doing what we are doing. And for me, it is still tennis because I can still play. But for Marilyn, it is just, she did walk and she danced, but still it's just hanging out with her puppy that makes her go into flow. For you, you have the highest chance after 12 to 14 hours of not eating. So you have 6-7 hours to feel that gratitude and smile some more. And I am sure today onwards, you will start feeling more and more that your time is also magically beautiful. That is what we can say is flow. So you cannot answer it in that same scale that Trisha is answering, the BFIT scale, because that is meant for physical activity. But in your heart, you will know that you are more grateful. That is gratitude,
yes,
the foundation of flow. And you mentioned it so beautifully, talking about your daughter. Our prayers are with you, my friend. We'll talk some more.
Thank you so much.
Today.
I cherish your prayers.
Talk to you a little bit more about details because it's running late on time. So others I want to have a chance. So I'll call you sometime.
Okay.
Anybody else has quick thoughts, comments before?
Yes, I have a quick comment. I find that fasting for 24 hours once a week helps with the situation Denise was talking about. I don't know her situation, but for me, it has a tendency to go ahead and help me move on with weight loss and getting more energy and feeling more comfortable. And so I don't know if that's helpful or not, but just one 24-hour fast a week, it makes all the difference in the world for me. It is probably one of the best gifts that I've gotten from this. So
amazing,
thank you.
Peggy. What Denise is doing is she's doing the 24-hour fast 6 days of the week.
Oh, no.
And she's doing great on it. So I have to talk some more with her to make sure that she is really aligned with heartful living.
Well, she probably needs to get some flow with M&Ms and peanut butter then.
That's why she's doing that. Any other quick discussion points from people who haven't spoken so far today? Professor Chokalingam from Toronto, did you want to say hello to us? You're going to talk to us next week, sir. Professor Pandian. Anybody else who wants to say hello to us? Any questions, thoughts? No.
Hello, Anand.
Yeah. So, hello, Anna.
Shall I go ahead?
Please.
Yeah. The talk by Trisha was excellent. She told she's losing weight when she's playing tennis. Is it possible to lose weight? Because I have been also playing, but I don't find any weight loss. Is it anything connected with the food that she is taking or the reduction of food, or how is it? Can she just elaborate on that?
Unmute yourself, Trisha.
Sure. So I follow a vegan diet. So I think that must help also. Because